Tonight was the go-home edition of Monday Night Raw before the Royal Rumble this Saturday. But as I was getting ready to go on the air live here tonight, I did see a story that's floating around. I will mention it here because I am seeing a lot of comments about it. I will mention it here because it is on bodyslam.net. I will tell you, though, that the person they're talking about, as far as who is breaking this news, I have never heard of this person before in my life. So until I start seeing this pop up in other places, I will simply tell you to just take this with a grain of salt. But there is a story right now up on bodyslam.net that talks about a change to the SmackDown commentary team, that Kevin Patrick reportedly is out as the lead announcer on SmackDown. Now, again, this is what it says. It says, according to renowned author Aaron Varble, and hey, all due respect to Aaron Varble, I have no idea who this person is. I cannot speak to their credentials. I have never heard of them before. I do not know who this person is. But according to bodyslam.net, he is a renowned author. Kevin Patrick is set to be removed from the SmackDown commentary team. Now, this person tweeted at about 10 o'clock tonight during Raw, saying only SmackDown set for a change. Kevin Patrick is out. No replacement names yet. Reason I was given, it just wasn't working out. Which anybody that has listened to commentary over the last several months could tell you the same thing. Kevin Patrick is not cut out to be the lead announcer on a WWE program. Kevin Patrick would make for a fine backstage interviewer on that show. He would make for a fine, and these are things he's done before, by the way. He's done backstage interviews. He's hosted pre-show panels. He's fine at that. He's just not cut out to be the lead announcer on Raw or SmackDown. They had him on Raw. They moved him over to SmackDown. They had Michael Cole there to basically be the training wheels for him. And just recently, they removed Michael Cole from the show. They said, all right, we're going to let him go, him and Corey Graves by themselves, and we're going to see how they do. And there was a report just the other day. There was a report on PW Insider from Mike Johnson, who I do consider to be a reliable source. And this was only maybe a week and a half ago, saying that Kevin Patrick, internally, the way it was being discussed, is basically in a period right now where he needs to step up to the plate. And if he doesn't step up to the plate, well, things may work out a little bit badly for him as far as him being the lead announcer on the show. Now we get this report. That's all we know. This is not a confirmation of anything. But look, whether it's a confirmation or not, this is inevitable. Kevin Patrick is not the right person for that job. It's not a knock on him personally. He's just not the right person. As far as who they replace him with, Vic Joseph is the likely option. I don't know if they would go outside to bring somebody in. We've seen Nick Khan bring sports personalities in, people from the sports world. Kevin Patrick was one of those people. Kevin Patrick does MLS commentary, and by all accounts is very good at it. Would Nick Khan go outside the company again to bring somebody in? Their new head of production, who just replaced Kevin Dunn, was plucked right out of ESPN. So we don't know if they're going to pull somebody out from the outside, go internally. Internally, Vic Joseph would be the best option. But again, we'll see if we get other sources to chime in here and confirm this. But for the time being, it looks as if Kevin Patrick might be out from SmackDown, which should really surprise nobody at all. You know, tomorrow is the 40th anniversary of Hulk Hogan's championship win at Madison Square Garden over the Iron Sheik. The birth of Hulkamania, WWE would have you believe. The birth of Hulkamania, of course, happened in the Twin Cities. It happened working for Vern Gagne and the AWA. But WWE is the only game left in town, and so they can rewrite history the way that they want. According to WWE, Hulkamania was born on January 23rd, 1984. And I was wondering if they were going to do something because, you know, Hogan, they haven't done much lately with him. They brought Hogan in to co-host WrestleMania in Tampa a few years ago, him and Titus O'Neil. And the people loved Titus, but they booed Hogan, right? I mean, Hogan is not as popular as he used to be with the WWE Universe. But you can't discount his place in history. There are a lot of people who are watching the product right now who would not be were it not for Hulk Hogan. They grew up at a time when Hogan was the man, right? Hogan was the guy. So how are they going to celebrate the 40th anniversary? They have a shitload of new merchandise out. They had a commercial for it tonight. You want your Hulk gear? You can go to WWEshop.com. But they had a video, dedicated to the anniversary tonight. They showed highlights of that first championship win. They had new footage. They sat down with Hogan. They interviewed him. And he talked about the stars of today, like Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins. And they had footage of Seth Rollins when he was a little Hulkamaniac sleeping in bed. He had his Hulk Hogan wrestling buddy with him. They had footage of that. What's weird is that I grew up a fan of Hulk Hogan as well, because Hulkamania was the big thing when I first started watching. And for whatever reason, I had the Ultimate Warrior wrestling buddy, and my brother had the Hulk Hogan one. I could never figure that out. We still have them too. But he said in the video that if there are two guys that he would bet on in the Royal Rumble match coming up on Saturday, that it would be Cody Rhodes and CM Punk in the Men's Rumble. But he also left it, had a little fun with it at the end, that he left it and said, you never know what kind of surprises you might get in the Royal Rumble match. You never know who might show up. And he pointed at himself and he said, well, maybe I got one left in me. Hulk Hogan is in his Iron Sheik phase right now. The Iron Sheik WrestleMania 17 phase. Remember when Iron Sheik was coming down to the ring at WrestleMania X7? And Bobby Heenan on commentary said he'll take him until WrestleMania 38 to get to the ring. And if you want to realize how fucking old we all are now, not only did WrestleMania 38 come and go, but we are heading into WrestleMania 40. That's how much time has gone by. But he's in his Iron Sheik phase. Hulk Hogan walks around, because he's had so many back surgeries, Hulk Hogan walks around with a walking stick like Gandalf. Do you honestly believe, for the people online I see the emojis already, the face palms, oh my God, Hulk Hogan's going to be in the Royal Rumble on Saturday. How gullible can you be? It was an offhanded comment. Hulk Hogan can barely move. You actually think he's going to go into the Royal Rumble match and be thrown out over the top rope? He'll turn to dust as soon as he hits the ground. Hulk Hogan will not be in the Royal Rumble match. I'm not saying he wouldn't show up, but Hulk Hogan is not going to be in the Royal Rumble match on Saturday. There seems to be a lot of people on social media that are taking this seriously, which scares me. Not that Hogan would be there, but that people honestly took that at face value and think he might be in the Royal Rumble match. That's just what we need. That's just what Cody needs. We already got The Rock might show up. CM Punk is back. Let's throw Hulk Hogan in there too. Maybe he'll exercise his creative control clause. We'll get Hulk Hogan and Roman Reigns. Hogan's the only man who can stop Roman from surpassing his number of days as champion. It's going to be Hogan and Roman at WrestleMania 40, brother. Come on now. What is wrong with you people? Seriously. Look at Richie Rich over here dropping all this money on Daniel Malcolm, a man with sense. I just want you to know, I think you rock. I don't mean The Rock, A Rock. You rock. And I just wanted you to know that. Hey, Daniel Malcolm, thank you for the early $100 super chat bomb. He's getting us started early here tonight. That right there is what I love to see. Hey, Daniel Malcolm, thank you very much, man. I appreciate that. Tonight, Raw was really all about CM Punk and Cody Rhodes. Since Hulk Hogan brought it up, we may as well start there, because CM Punk and Cody Rhodes were promoted tonight for a face-to-face segment. Look, everyone, it's Samoa Bro in the middle of the ring to discuss their participation in the Royal Rumble match. And what we got with these two men, these two right here, CM Punk and Cody Rhodes, just sold the Royal Rumble in that one in-ring segment that they had on the show tonight. They sold the Royal Rumble. Not that the Royal Rumble needed much in the way of selling, because I think most people were already looking forward to the Rumble match on Saturday. And the Rumble's my favorite show every year anyway. But in one promo, the two favorites to win the men's Rumble match made it very clear that they don't hate each other. They even consider themselves to be friends. But on Saturday, all of that goes out the window. And that's really what the Royal Rumble is all about. We haven't seen enough of that on TV in the build-up to this show. There are no friends, only enemies. And they reinforced that in this segment on the show. They put the focus squarely where it belonged. They put it on the Royal Rumble match. What makes the match so important? You get to win the Rumble, you punch your ticket to WrestleMania, and you get to challenge for the championship of your choosing. Everything about that segment worked. It clicked. I thought they both did a fantastic job. The tension between them, you could see it here in the image when they went literally nose to nose. I mean, I don't know if they're trying to make out with each other or if they're trying to beat each other up. But they had a fantastic face-off in the middle of the ring. And as I was sitting here watching these two in the ring, it just was amazing to think. It was amazing for me to sit here and think that Tony Khan had those two men on his roster 2 years ago. I can't say under contract because Cody was working without a contract the last few months of his deal. But they were both on that AEW roster. And Tony Khan had CM Punk and Cody Rhodes. And if you would have said to me 2 years ago that at the Royal Rumble in 2024, the two favorites to win the entire thing, the two men who would be on Raw and would sell the show on the go-home show, would be Cody Rhodes and CM Punk, I would have thought you were nuts. I would have thought that you were absolutely out of your mind. And for various reasons, things have led us to where we are here today. For better or worse, this is where we are. This is what happened. They're on the WWE roster and they're going to WrestleMania. It's pretty amazing how much things can change in the span of just 2 years. The other thing on the show tonight, and we're going to get into this in more detail here in a moment, is the status of the World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins, who kicked off the show tonight. He was going to be on Raw to let all of us know what his future is heading into WrestleMania. Would he be at WrestleMania? Would he show up on Raw tonight and vacate the World Heavyweight Championship? This is the man who goes around calling himself the workhorse. And if the horse can't work, what's he going to do? We got our answer tonight as far as what the future holds for Seth Rollins. He will not be at the Royal Rumble on Saturday, which I think we all knew. But as far as his WrestleMania status, we now have some clarity on that. We'll talk about that. The New Day Imperium stuff in hour one on this show, I thought was great. I really enjoyed that. But then things fell off. There was really a whole lot of nothing until we got to Punk and Cody, and that picked things up a lot. And then there was a very good match with Chad Gable and Ivar that I very much enjoyed in the last hour of the show. And a good main event between Drew and Damian Priest. Not a lot of heat because you had two guys who were heels. And so the people didn't really know who to cheer for. And then whatever the hell that finish was. Now, look, I like R-Truth. And R-Truth is the #1 merch seller in the company right now. Those Judgment Day t-shirts with him on it and everything, #1. Bumped CM Punk and Cody and everybody else from the top spot. So I get why they want to feature him on the show in a big spot. But what we saw in the main event for the finish, where R-Truth got involved and trying to hand Damian Priest a stack of cash for the money he made off the t-shirts, and the money goes flying, and it factored into the finish of the match, and I'm sitting here going, what the fuck kind of finish is this? This is the finish of your main event? Like, I like Truth. I enjoy, the stuff that he's been doing with the Judgment Day, but keep that shit out of the main event. That's not where it belongs. So I don't know what the finish was to that main event. I mean, I know why they did it, because they wanted to find a way to protect Damian Priest from taking a clean loss, but that ain't the way. Also, no new matches added to the Royal Rumble. I thought they would add maybe a women's title match. There are no women's championship matches on Saturday as of right now. Rhea Ripley is not defending her title. Io Sky is not defending her title. We're getting a women's tag team title match on Friday, not Saturday. So we have 2 Royal Rumble matches. We have Logan Paul against Kevin Owens. And we have the Fatal 4-Way with Roman Reigns defending his undisputed title. We have 4 matches on the show on Saturday, which tells me that the 2 Rumbles are going very long. The men's Rumble last year went quite a while. I mean, Gunther was in there, 71 minutes or 74 minutes or something like that. So I think we're getting 2 very long Rumble matches here this year because we only got 4 of them. And I don't think we're getting a 2.5-hour pay-per-view either. At least I certainly hope not, because I'm actually going to be there. I paid for a ticket. I'm going to Tropicana Field for the Royal Rumble. And of all the pay-per-views, I don't want this one to be the one where they rush off the air after 2 hours. I mean, come on, you can't do that. This is your Monday Night Raw review. It is Monday. Of course it is. January 22nd, 2024. I am the Solomonster. Like and subscribe. 400 likes is the goal tonight for us to do our Be the Booker segment, which we will do. It's up to you guys, only if we hit 400. So hit that like button. We got some new super chats up as well. I know there's a new $3 one in there as well. You can check the description down below for that. And last quick reminder, if you are not in our private Solomonster Sounds Off discussion group on Facebook, we are doing our Royal Rumble pool. It was announced very late. Shout out to Julian Cannon for helping out with that. We already have well over 1,000 people in there. You have until the end of this week. All you got to do is get into the group. You got to be approved first. Find the group, apply for membership. You'll see the post pinned at the very top. Like the post, and you're in. And by the end of the week, I think Friday, Julian is going to post separately everyone's randomly assigned numbers. So good luck. If you are in the pool this year, hopefully whatever number you draw, one of the Royal Rumble winners will enter the Rumble at that number. That's how it works. So tonight, Raw, it was episode 1600, we were told. They showed CM Punk and Cody Rhodes arriving separately to the building as they hyped their face-to-face interaction later on in the show. Live in the arena, they opened with Seth Rollins. Out to the ring, he had a brace on his left leg, the World Heavyweight title around his waist, and he was coming out to discuss his health and his future as the World Heavyweight Champion. There it is right there. Solomonster chanting for Samoa Joe. He's the other champion. He's on the other show. We'll talk about him on Wednesday. Once Michael Cole started on commentary wondering is the dream dead? Is the WrestleMania dream for Seth Rollins dead? Is it over? As soon as he started talking about that, I knew he wasn't vacating the title. They leaned into it a little too hard on commentary. What they should have done is said nothing at all and just let Seth come out and make the announcement, because he came out, he was looking very grim. You know, his eyes, he looked like he was about to cry. And you would look at this man and you would think, oh shit, we're in for some bad news here. But sometimes the announcers, the way that they have them talk, like you could just tell. Like, all right, I see where they're going with this. Once Rollins was in the ring, he took his shades off. He was fighting back the tears. He said it's been a long week. He really appreciated the positive greeting he got from the fans in New Orleans tonight. He said last week he was defending the championship against Jinder Mahal, which got boos. He said it's okay because I beat him. And he remembered hitting a moonsault. And when he hit the moonsault, that was that springboard moonsault off the middle rope. That is where the injury occurred. He said as soon as he hit the moonsault, he felt his knee move in a way that it's really not supposed to. And he said he finished the match. He beat Jinder. Once he got to the back, he sat down and reality set in for him that he might be out for a long time. And he remembers in a promo earlier that night on the show, he remembers saying that he only gets better and stronger with each title defense every time he comes out to put the world title on the line. And sitting there not being able to bend his knee made him feel like a bit of a liar. He said he thought for the first time that it was a real possibility that he might miss WrestleMania. And the crowd chanted no. They gasped and they chanted no. He said he appreciated that, but he still had to go get an MRI done. He said he got the results back during the week, and it wasn't great. And he then confirmed the report that Fightful had the other day, that he has a tear of his MCL. He said it's a grade 2 tear of his MCL and a partially torn meniscus that's in his left knee. He said doctors are telling him that with surgery, it would be a 3 or 4 month recovery time. And of course, if he had surgery, and if that held, that would put them beyond WrestleMania. He said if it were up to him, he would be back in the ring next week. But it's just not up to him. He says we really don't know what the future holds, and he added that he was taking things day by day, week by week. So that we already knew the last few days that it was an MCL tear and a meniscus tear. He didn't really tell us, other than the grade of the MCL tear, we didn't learn anything new as far as the nature of the injury. But then Imperium's music played. And Gunther came out, the Intercontinental Champion. He had Giovanni Vinci, who was back from his concussion. Ludwig Kaiser was with him. They stayed outside. And Gunther went into the ring. So it was him and Rollins. And Rollins said, I don't have time for this. He said, if you're here to make an example out of me, just go ahead and get it over with. And Gunther told Rollins, don't worry about Kaiser and Vinci. He said Rollins should focus on him. He said they've been ignoring each other for some time, and this felt like the right time for him to tell Rollins what he really thinks of him. He said Rollins has positioned himself as a fighting champion that everybody can be proud of, just like me. He added that it pulls at his heartstrings to see Rollins in this way, and he knows that he might not make it to WrestleMania. Honestly, it makes him sad. Sad Gunther. So Rollins said Gunther and his boys, they should have let him finish because he wasn't done talking yet. And he said what he was about to say is that he doesn't give a damn what the doctors tell him or how hard he has to rehab and push his knee. I will keep my promise. I will take this title into WrestleMania. And he said that he will do everything in his power to walk out of WrestleMania the World Heavyweight Champion. So Gunther said, that's great. And he was very happy to hear that. He said he thought they saw a great champion fall last week. He's very happy that that's not the case. He said he admires what Seth is going to do. He's going to do what he has to do to enter WrestleMania and leave with the title. And Gunther said that he would do the same. And said Rollins reminds him of himself. And Gunther said, on Sunday, he is going to win the Royal Rumble. I love how that played when I'm talking about Gunther. It's just so appropriate. Just so appropriate. One of the new ones. Gunther said on Sunday, he is going to win the Royal Rumble. And when he does, he is going to choose Seth Rollins as his opponent for WrestleMania. I will make a guarantee to you right here and now. I'm going to make, right here on this stream, the Go Home episode of Raw, make it a guarantee. I guarantee you that Gunther is not going to win the Royal Rumble this Sunday. Now, he might win on Saturday, but I guarantee you that Gunther is not going to win the Royal Rumble on Sunday. This is going to be Gunther when he turns up to the Royal Rumble on Sunday. This poor bastard. He's going to walk in and he's going to be looking around like, where is everybody? Thank you to Steve, by the way, for sharing that with me. I got a nice chuckle out of that. But yes, that is my guarantee to you. We will not see Gunther winning the Royal Rumble on Sunday. And Gunther said that he would target Rollins' bad knee, he would target his bad back, and he would beat him to become World Heavyweight Champion. Rollins said that he appreciates the honesty. He told Gunther, just remember who he's coming after. And Rollins dropped the mic. Gunther told Rollins he better remember who's coming after him. And then they shook hands, and as soon as the promo ended, Michael Cole, clearly somebody in his ear, Michael Cole emphasized no less than 3 times that this Saturday is the Royal Rumble. Saturday, Saturday, Saturday is the Royal Rumble, not Sunday. I also love, if you were watching the segment, the moment that Gunther said Sunday by accident, within 3 seconds, they had a graphic up in the corner of the screen that said Royal Rumble this Saturday on Peacock. They were not taking any chances here. And trust me, look, I know it's very hard. Like when you plant the idea of something in someone's head, but just by saying Sunday in this promo, there are going to be people watching this show. And maybe they don't hang out online like everybody else probably watching this stream does 22 hours a day, who are going to think the Rumble is on Sunday. When these shows move to another night, like they get bumped for sports, like that happens to AEW quite a bit. especially Collision on Saturdays, right, would sometimes get bumped because of sports. I bet they're wishing they got bumped this weekend because they're going to be up against the Royal Rumble head-to-head. But there's a reason why there's a drop-off in the audience, because there are a lot of people who, no matter how many times you tell them, no matter how many graphics you put up on the screen, it doesn't matter. You could beat them over the head with it. It goes in one ear and out the other. That's just the way it is. So anyway, they did what they had to do to remind people of the correct date. That little faux pas aside, I'm very happy to hear that Rollins is not too injured to make WrestleMania. That is the great news coming out of this segment, because if he was, they would have taken the title from him. Seth Rollins would no longer be the World Heavyweight Champion right now if he was so injured that they said, okay, he's definitely not going to be back for WrestleMania. They wouldn't wait. They would have taken it off of him tonight, whether it be him forfeiting the title or a cash-in or however they would have done it. So that's great news. The fact that they didn't is in line with the injury report that we heard a few days ago. And he's going to miss the Elimination Chamber most likely. I can't imagine he'll be well enough to go by then. I don't have the exact date of the Elimination Chamber in front of me. I want to say it's the third week in February, so that's off the table. And so they're going to rest him, and they're going to, hope that everything goes well. And come April 6th or whatever the day is, I think it's April 6th and 7th for WrestleMania, he'll be good to go. He did a good job too, when he came out being all grim and it looked like he was preparing everybody for the worst. He sold it well, I thought. And so let's address the negatives of this, because I know a lot of people I saw even before I went live here were bitching about this, and I understand it. Yes, this means that we will not have a defending World Heavyweight Champion for the next 2.5 months. And that sucks. That's not ideal. We already have a Roman Reigns on SmackDown. We don't need 2 Roman Reigns. We now have 2 Roman Reigns for the next 2.5 months. And so that is not an ideal situation, especially for somebody who goes on television. His entire gimmick is that he is a workhorse. He is the defending champion. He is the anti-Roman Reigns. And so that is not a good thing. But if you know that Seth Rollins is very likely going to be okay for WrestleMania, you don't blow up your WrestleMania plans 2 months in advance because you want Seth Rollins to be defending the World Heavyweight title at the Elimination Chamber, or because you want Seth Rollins to defend the World Heavyweight title on a random episode of Raw in a few weeks. So I guess we just have to take the title away from him. They have had this Seth Rollins CM Punk plan from the moment that Punk came back. Clearly, they've been building towards Seth Rollins and CM Punk. That is going to be the match at WrestleMania. That's going to be the World Heavyweight Championship match at WrestleMania 40. They should not be taking the title from him. They should be thanking their lucky stars that it wasn't worse. They should consider themselves lucky and be grateful that it was not an ACL tear. ACL tears in this company are going around like fucking COVID. Everyone's catching them. So they're very, very lucky. They dodged a huge bullet here because that would have been a disaster if Rollins was going to be out for 9 months. But you don't blow up your WrestleMania plans. Frankly, this is where business being so hot and them having so many stars on top is going to come in very handy because they can step up. With Rollins not able to go, they've got Cody Rhodes. He can step up. You've got CM Punk. You've got Jey Uso. And those are just baby faces. You want to throw heels in there? You got Gunther, and you got Drew McIntyre. You got Damian Priest. You got Finn Balor. Right? Sami Zayn? Sami Zayn has been MIA. I have a feeling Sami will be a surprise on Saturday. He should be back by then. So they're going to be just fine. If they only need 2 months, it's not the end of the world. Now, from a kayfabe perspective, they opened the door to this by Roman Reigns being booked in the way that he has been booked. Roman Reigns defended his title, 5 times? All of last year? The days of, you got to defend your title within 30 days. You don't notice me mentioning that anymore. I don't cling to that the way some people still cling to it because that's an old, wrestling trope in WWE. It's like, oh, you got to defend the title every 30 days or you'll be stripped. Well, I wish it were like that, but I'm sorry to say it hasn't been like that probably in 20 plus years. So you got to let it go. It doesn't work that way anymore. When Brock Lesnar had his run as the Universal Champion, we saw it then. We see it now with Roman Reigns. And frankly, if they let Roman Reigns defend his title 5 times a year, there's no reason that Seth Rollins can't take 2.5 months off without defending his. So there's nothing wrong with him taking the break and not being stripped of the title. That's just common sense. It wouldn't make sense to do it any other way. I like Gunther calling him out, though. Him coming out and calling his shot and saying, I'm going to win the Royal Rumble. I'm going to challenge you. I'm not even letting you wonder who I'm going to pick. I'm going to win, and I'm going to pick you. And it's going to be you and me for the title at WrestleMania, teasing the possibility that we might get champion against champion, maybe even title for title, with Seth Rollins and Gunther. The funny thing is, before CM Punk came back at Survivor Series and just completely upended everything, Gunther was my pick to win. I wanted to see him go to the Royal Rumble and win, with the idea that he would drop the Intercontinental title, and that would clear a path for him to go to WrestleMania. So that him losing the IC wouldn't hurt him. He could just win the Rumble. And that elevates him to World Heavyweight title contention. And then you get Rollins against Gunther. Then Punk came back, and it became very clear they were doing Rollins and Punk and not Rollins and Gunther. And Gunther was going to have to wait his turn. Gunther is going to win the World Heavyweight Championship. He's just going to have to wait a little bit longer. It's like Swerve Strickland in AEW. Swerve Strickland is going to be AEW World Champion. He's just going to have to wait a little while because Samoa Joe is going to get his run. Samoa Joe deserves his time. Swerve's time will come. Gunther's time will come. SummerSlam, maybe Bash in Berlin. I think late in the summer sounds about right. But he will not be winning the Royal Rumble on Saturday or Sunday. Saturday or Sunday, he will not be winning the Royal Rumble. By the way, how nice of Damian Priest not to come out and even attempt to cash in his Money in the Bank briefcase. What a nice guy. And he was there. He was in backstage segments. He was in the main event of the show. Everywhere he went, he had his lunchbox with him. But he did not come out in this segment. You know what was so stupid about that? There is a point in this segment when Imperium comes out. And what did Seth Rollins say to Gunther? He said, look, if you came out here to make an example out of me, just go ahead and get it over with. That was the line. Well, then where the fuck was the Judgment Day? Why wouldn't the Judgment Day want to come out and make an example out of him? They've been feuding with him off and on for months. Priest has the briefcase. He was nowhere to be found. There's no way to explain that. There's no logical way to explain that. So I'm not even going to attempt to do so. It was stupid. Obviously, they don't want to take the title from Seth. And so what are you going to do? You could have had the announcers make some kind of announcement that there's a freeze because of the injury, right? The Money in the Bank is frozen or something. I mean, they could have come up with something. They chose not to. And the problem in not doing so is that it just makes Damian Priest look impotent. It just makes him look like a fool. I don't know why he didn't come out, right? Storyline-wise. We have at ringside, Imperium got attacked by Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods. So while Gunther and Seth were still in the ring, New Day jumps Imperium outside. And that's the jump start to their match, which was the opening match of the night. We had New Day against Giovanni Vinci and Ludwig Kaiser. They joined the match after a break already in progress. Kingston made a hot tag. He wiped out Vinci and Kaiser on opposite sides of the ring with suicide dives. Imperium teamed up on him moments later until Woods made the save, and they kept brawling, lost track of time, and the referee counted both teams out. Right, so it's a bullshit double count out finish. But then the brawl continued after the match. All 4 men fought into the crowd. Kaiser was setting up to hit Kingston with a steel chair. Here comes Xavier Woods, though. He flies into camera view, break it up. Woods brought Kaiser up on top of one of the equipment cases that were just sitting there in the crowd. And he picked him, I think he picked him up on his shoulders. He was setting up for a move. Vinci broke it up. Kaiser and Vinci then set up for a double suplex. Kofi, though, came over. He intervened. Kingston and Woods then speared Kaiser and Vinci off the equipment cases and through 2 tables that were down below. And they all crashed through them. They were all laid out. Fans were going nuts for this. They were chanting, "Holy shit," which USA Network, very, very annoyingly, insists upon bleeping out every single "holy shit" chant. And so all you heard was just muted sound for about 5 or 6 seconds. I've heard far worse on these shows, by the way. I don't know what the big deal is about the "holy shit." Like, if somebody drops an F-bomb, even asshole, right? Okay, maybe I can understand that. But is it really necessary to do that with the "holy shit" chants? Are we still doing this here in 2024? And anyway, both teams were laid out, and the crowd's going nuts. They pitch it back to Michael Cole and Wade Barrett at ringside, who just moved on. He was like, all right, well, on to the next thing to promote. So I thought this was a hot post-match angle. The match itself was good for the time it lasted. The finish sucked. Yeah, any kind of draw or a double DQ or a double count out, it's not a fun finish. But it led to a very fun post-match angle. Great intensity from both sides. I'll keep saying it. It's a welcome change for the New Day. It's just a different side of them that we don't have a chance to see very often. I'm enjoying it. I hope it continues. We got the video announcement of WWE 2K24 getting their cover boy. Not only their cover boy, but their cover girls as well. Cody Rhodes is on the cover. He will grace the cover of WWE 2K24, the standard edition. Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley are going to be on the cover of the deluxe edition. And, you know, I watched the trailer that they aired for it. And so the story mode is finishing the story, right? Because Cody is on the cover. So it's about finishing the story. And they have these cutaways to the different stars from all the different generations talking about their story or stopping you from finishing the story, whatever it is. When we got to the AI versions of Hulk Hogan and Stone Cold Steve Austin, that was freaky. And not in a good way either. It didn't even look that good. It was just weird. Very weird. But Cody is the right choice for the cover. I think they hit the nail on the head with him being on the cover. He makes the most sense, especially the whole idea of the fucking game is that it's built around finishing your story. They posted a video on their YouTube channel earlier. Was it today? I think it was today. Showing Cody, Rhea, and Bianca. They were taken to a warehouse somewhere for a 2K video shoot. And they were not told what they were there for other than it's a holiday shoot for 2K23. And then they sprung the news on them. They played a video for each of them of Triple H saying, okay, the real reason you're here is because you've been chosen for the cover of 2K24. But the fact that they were in their WrestleMania 39 gear and the fact that they thought they were there for a holiday shoot for a game that's now a year old, they picked them months ago. Like, it fascinates me that they probably already knew who was going to be on the cover of 2K24 not long after WrestleMania last year. So I don't know exactly what month they made their decision, but it had to be months ago. Yeah, because there were a lot of people online saying, oh, it should be Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt should be on the cover. I mean, I don't understand that. No, Cody Rhodes is the right person to be on the cover. I guess they're just trying to be nice. I mean, I could see Bray being part of maybe some kind of a DLC thing, but no. Like, Cody Rhodes is the right person for the cover of the game. But even if they wanted to consider that, the decision was probably already made, even before he passed away. Like, that's how far in advance they know these things. So the Judgment Day was backstage, and Rhea Ripley accused Damian Priest of trying to pick fights with everybody. And she informed him that she talked to Adam Pearce, and on Raw next week, it's going to be Finn Balor and Damian Priest defending the undisputed tag team titles against DIY. So the match is taking place next week with Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa. She said that they obviously had bigger problems to deal with than just Drew McIntyre. And Priest got all defensive. He said, I'm not going around trying to fight everybody. He said he wasn't the one walking around with a big head due to being on the cover of 2K24. I thought he was talking about McDonough when he made the big head comment. Priest walked away after saying, "I'm going to go clear my head before my match with Drew later." Rhea then scolded Dominik and JD for not taking care of DIY sooner. Finn Balor was parroting. Every comment she would make, he would parrot her. So whatever she would say, he would say it. Kurt Angle used to do that. And so Ripley then scolded Balor and told him that Priest would deal with his McIntyre problem on his own tonight in the main event. And she told Balor that he would be ringside with McDonough for Dominik's match. She said that it's been a while since she had seen the vicious side of Finn Balor. And Balor said that if she wanted vicious, then vicious is what she would get. And there are still people who want to try to convince me that Rhea Ripley is not the leader of the Judgment Day. I would like to know what show these people are watching consistently week after week that makes them think that this woman, despite what they say about there being no leader, that make them think Rhea Ripley is anything but the actual leader of the Judgment Day. Like, it's funny to me. Some people still insist on this. It's amazing. Ivy Nile against Valhalla. Valhalla hit a pop-up headbutt, put her feet on the bottom rope when she tried for the cover. She did it, though, a little bit quickly. A little too quickly, and the referee caught her. The spot was that Maxine Dupree was going to alert the referee, but referee already saw it, so it messed up the spot. Nile bounced Valhalla's head off the ring post and then hit a top rope bulldog that she calls the pit bull to pick up the win. This was too short to be anything, but it was a win for Ivy. She's the one they're pushing. She got to show off her new finish during the match. It was a weird moment where Wade Barrett was kind of ribbing Michael Cole, and he observed that Michael Cole had made a couple of different comments about Valhalla wrestling in bare feet. And Cole said, "Well, I'm just doing my job. I'm just observing the fact that she's wrestling barefoot." He goes, "Yeah, but you've now said that twice." So I don't know. Maybe Michael Cole has a kink. Maybe he's got a certain fetish. I don't know. I guess that's something that him and Rumpelmane, is Rumpelmane in the chat tonight? See, I found something that you and Michael Cole have in common. You and your feet. Jey Uso walked up to Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods in the back and handed them ice packs. Jackie Redmond showed up and asked the New Day, where does it end with Kaiser and Vinci and you guys? When is this going to be over? And Woods said they're sick and tired of people thinking that they don't do this. They are the best, says they have been for a decade. I was watching when he made that comment. I was watching Jey Uso in the background to see if he would react in any way to that comment. I think the Usos might object to that, but he didn't react. They said Jey is not the only one planning on winning titles this year. And Kofi said people see the pancakes and they see the bootios and they don't think that they can get down when the time is right. He said they want the big boss. And he challenged Gunther to an Intercontinental title match on Raw next week. After New Day left Jey Uso, he looked into the camera and he said, yeet, and then he walked off. The longer they keep this New Day Imperium stuff going, we talked a little bit about this last week because some of you floated the idea, the possibility that Big E is going to make a return and that Big E maybe would challenge Gunther at WrestleMania for the Intercontinental title. And I told you, like, I don't see it, but as they continue on with this New Day and Imperium stuff, and we're going to get Kofi and Gunther next week. We've already seen Woods and Gunther. They've wrestled before. I am starting to wonder if the comments that Big E made recently about, where he made it very clear that he's very likely not going to be back in the ring anytime soon, if ever. And he has to just take things slow, and he has to be be careful, with his neck. I am starting to wonder, though, if he's being completely on the up and up about his current health status, or if maybe they're setting up some kind of a surprise return for him. I don't know. I mean, the fact that they're doing the Kofi match next week after the Rumble, I don't think Big E's going to be a surprise in the Rumble. I mean, look, if he was to come back, I would think it would happen after Kofi's been vanquished and Woods has been vanquished and, New Day looks like they're just out, right? They're down and out. And then here comes the triumphant return of Big E. But look, I mean, the thing with Big E's injury, I think people need to understand something here, is that it was a very serious injury, serious enough that he probably should never wrestle again. Now, that doesn't mean that he won't or he doesn't want to. It just means that it was a bad enough injury that he has a very good quality of life right now. And I certainly would not want to see him do anything to jeopardize that. He's still in great shape. He's able to train. He does, PR work for the company. He's doing all kinds of things. And so I would hope that he doesn't have this thing in him that says, oh, I got to get back in the ring. And he does so at his own expense and the expense of his health. I think he's smarter than that. So it was a very serious injury. But if in fact it was going to be a surprise, and the idea was we're setting up Big E and Gunther for the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania, I'd be down for that. What a great moment, right? What a way to reestablish Big E. If he comes back and he's the one to hand Gunther that first loss and take back the Intercontinental title, and that would then clear the way for Gunther to move on to bigger and better things later in the year. I can get behind that. I can't see it. I don't think that we're being lied to. I think that he really doesn't know if he'll ever be back in the ring. I don't see it. But if it were to happen, I would love to see him and Gunther mix it up. It would make for a great story. You thought Kofi Mania was great at WrestleMania 35? Imagine if things play out that way in time for WrestleMania 40. Imagine how that story would be. How great of a moment that would be. Nia Jax made her way to the ring to address the audience. Nia said the first time that she came face-to-face with Rhea Ripley, Ripley got squashed. She said the first time she went one-on-one with Becky Lynch, Becky got squashed. And she remembered Ripley and Lynch stating that last week they want to face each other at WrestleMania. She says they want to face each other because they both know that they can't beat her. Becky then made her entrance. She said, "Shut up, Nia, you dope." She congratulated Nia for beating her and said now she has something new to talk about for the next 5 years, instead of breaking her face. Becky says she knows she has a target on her back going into the Royal Rumble, but no bigger than the one on Nia's back. Nia has an even bigger target on her back, and then she was very quick to just let people know that that wasn't, a joke about her size. It's just that she's made a lot of enemies in the locker room. So everybody hates her because she's injured half the locker room. And so nobody is a fan of Nia Jax. She says she didn't know what she would enjoy more, winning the Royal Rumble for the second time in her career or watching Nia lose. And then Bayley's theme played. And Bayley walked out. She took a wrong turn somewhere. She thought it was Friday night. She walked out and she said she came to Raw to see Rhea Ripley, but this is even better. And she joined Becky and Nia in the ring and said that she was there to make it very clear that she will win the Royal Rumble. And the very definition of this could have been an email. She really had to come all the way to Raw for this. Bayley shoved Becky and then went after her. Jax attacked Bayley. Becky got up and fought Nia before putting Bayley down with a manhandle slam. Nia tossed Becky over the top rope and then dropped a big leg on Bayley to close out the segment. Becky and Bayley are the two favorites for the Women's Royal Rumble because they've tried to portray that Nia is the dominant force, right? And that Nia Jax is going to win the Royal Rumble. Nobody believes that Nia Jax is winning the Royal Rumble. God help us if Nia Jax wins the Royal Rumble and goes to WrestleMania. Okay, that's not happening. Realistically, it's Becky or Bayley. Who else is it? Right? In the men's match, you have a few different options. In the women's match, you really only have two. So it's going to be one or the other. The fact that they are pushing Nia as strong as they are, I think that what they have been doing by keeping her undefeated in singles matches, since she came back in September, she has yet to lose a one-on-one match. The only time I can remember her losing, I guess it was that multi-woman match they did, I think, at Crown Jewel, and she didn't win, but she didn't lose either. So they've kept her undefeated. Why? She even beat Becky at day one. Why have they done that? Because I think what they're doing is they're probably building to the final two in the Royal Rumble. It's going to be Becky Lynch and Nia Jax. And Becky is going to get her revenge. She's going to get her revenge for what happened on the first Raw of 2024 when she lost and got her mouth all bloodied. That's probably what they're building to. And so if Bayley isn't going to win, how is Damage Control going to factor into Bayley's elimination? Because if she's not winning, it's going to be a member of Damage Control that eliminates her. I don't know if Dakota Kai is cleared yet and we just don't know, or if she's about to be cleared. But if she was to be cleared in time for Saturday, she could be in that Women's Rumble. Who knows? Maybe it's Dakota Kai who throws her out, right? No friends in the Royal Rumble, every woman for herself. That would certainly cause drama in Damage Control if that were to happen. We got the annual Royal Rumble by the numbers video. They do one of these every single year, and they're always great. This was the first half of the full 6-minute version that they posted online earlier today. They aired the second half of the video later in the show. Backstage, we had a sad-looking Becky Lynch walking down the hallway when she bumped into Rhea Ripley. And Rhea leaned in and told her, it looks like you should make other plans for WrestleMania. We had The Miz against Dominik Mysterio with Finn Balor and JD McDonough in his corner. I will pause here for a moment, though, to welcome all of you and thank you for joining me tonight here for this Go Home Monday Night Raw review. It is now officially January 23rd, so it is the 40th anniversary of Hulkamania, according to WWE. And we are 2 likes away from the goal for Be the Bookers, so who's going to be number 400? I don't know. Maybe it'll be you. It could be you watching this right now. I don't know. Hit that thumbs up. Balor gave Miz a cheap shot. Dominik took control after hitting a suicide dive and a slingshot senton. Miz fought back after a break, and he drop-kicked Balor into the announce desk. He also took out McDonough before hitting Dominik with a springboard crossbody for 2. Michael Cole got all excited. Oh my God, the Miz did a springboard. He was so excited, and he made the comment on commentary. He goes, when is the last time we saw the Miz do that? I mean, he's talking like we haven't seen Miz do a springboard in 10 years. He's been doing them every other week. Ever since he turned babyface. He just did one a few weeks ago. Pay attention. Watch your own show. Miz avoided a 619. McDonough, though, distracted the referee, and that allowed Balor to kick Miz in the head. Dominik followed with a 619, hit the frog splash, and he picked up the win. Balor attacked Miz after the match. Here comes Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa to make the save. Dominik pulled McDonough out of the ring to safety and saved him from the meet-in-the-middle finish, DIY, we're about to hit. So much for Finn Balor showing his vicious side. I thought he was going to show his vicious side tonight. Whatever happened to that? We didn't get to see his vicious side. Jackie Redmond interviewed Damian Priest in the back, who congratulated Dirty Dom on handling business like he knew he would. Before he could address Drew McIntyre, R-Truth showed up, and he tried to give Priest another wad of cash, another stack of bills. That's his money coming from the residuals from the t-shirts they've been selling. Number 1 on WWE Shop. And Priest told him, not now. Now is not the right time. And so Truth left. Priest turned his attention to Drew and said, McIntyre likes to talk about when he was the man around here. Said that was at a time when everybody was struggling. Then everybody was back at 100. And what happened? He couldn't beat Roman. He couldn't beat Gunther. Now he can't beat Seth Rollins. And out of pure jealousy, he wants to make sure that I don't become the world heavyweight champion. He says the issue with that is, one way or another, whether I cash in or I win the Royal Rumble on Saturday to go to WrestleMania, I am going to be the champion. And as for tonight, he said Drew will receive his punishment. We got another backstage vignette with Bronson Reed. Remember we got one of these last week? Same style. He might have been standing in the same place. So they went to Bronson Reed. This time he was warning Jey Uso that Jey is not the only one who is going after gold this year. He said nothing would stand in his way of becoming a champion, and he challenged Jey to a match next week. This was different than the Bronson Reed vignette that we had on the show last week. Remember what he said last week, that he was targeting a certain WWE champion? And it was left to the imagination who that champion was. And I said that that champion is very likely Seth Rollins. And that was setting up Rollins, probably his title defense for Australia at Elimination Chamber. Well, then Seth Rollins got hurt. And Seth Rollins is not going to be defending the title until WrestleMania. And so it makes me wonder if this is the pivot to something else, because what they wanted to do with him just went out the window. So now they've pivoted to him and Jey Uso on TV next week. That is also 3 matches, along with the tag team title match and Gunther defending the Intercontinental Championship against Kofi Kingston. 3 big matches they've already announced in advance, which is great to see. It's surprising, though, because, normally I feel like on those post-pay-per-view episodes, you might get like 1 big match announced in advance, but typically they don't announce too much. Usually it's the fallout, right? So it's like the fallout from the Royal Rumble. Depending on how things play out this weekend, we'll see who the champions are, we'll see who the winners are. So it's nice that they've already set up 3 huge matches for next week. Plus the fallout from the Royal Rumble. We had Chad Gable against Ivar without Valhalla, who did not come out with him. Ivar suplexed Gable out of the ring to the floor, and it looked like maybe both of them were supposed to go over. Ivar did not go over, but then Ivar climbed out onto the apron and he squashed Chad Gable. He delivered a leaping splash off the apron. He squashed him on the floor outside, and that took us into a commercial break. Hey, Aunt Honey, thank you very much. It says Solo Rules. Thank you, Aunt. EA San Diego says, I would say Drew is a tweener. No, Drew's pretty much a heel right now. He's a heel. Now, I mean, look, a lot of what he says in his promos is factual. He's not telling lies when he talks in his promos about all the ways he's been wronged and all of that, but he's pretty much a heel at this point. The minute that he had that vicious beatdown on Seth Rollins, however many weeks ago it was, he was a heel. So after a break, Ivar hit a sit-out powerbomb for a near fall. Gable rebounded and rolled through a victory roll to apply an ankle lock. Ivar was able to break free. Ivar put Gable down and then hit a middle rope leg drop for a near fall. Ivar threw a spin kick. Gable caught it. He reapplied the ankle lock, and Ivar was teasing that he might tap out. The crowd was getting behind Gable. He got to the bottom rope to break the hold. Ivar then put Gable down with a sit-out spine buster for a 2 count. Gable was able to avoid Ivar's top rope moonsault, and then he executed a German suplex into a bridge for a 2 count. One of my favorite things in all of wrestling is just watching Chad Gable in there, especially a lot of the guys he's in the ring with are bigger than him because Chad Gable is not a huge man. So we saw it when he was in there with Gunther, for example. Watching him go in there with people who are larger than him, especially when he does the chaos theory, and just getting him up in the air, for that German, and just stalling just a little bit and holding him up there and then dropping him down into the bridge. I fucking love it. It's one of my favorite things to watch on this show. So that got him a 2 count. And then they did this awesome spot where Ivar was setting up for a superplex. Gable, he slipped out. And as he slipped out onto his feet, like in one fluid motion, like as he's sliding down, he grabs a hold of Ivar around the waist. And he delivers a German suplex from the middle rope, because Ivar was standing on the middle rope, and he German suplexed him off the middle rope all the way down, folded him up. That was a great spot. The crowd was getting behind Gable at this point. Now he's trying to shake it off, right? Ivar's down. Gable heads up top for a moonsault of his own, it looks like, when Valhalla shows up. And she gets up, she climbs the steps and looks up at Gable. I almost said Angle. A lot of similarities there. And she looked up at him and screamed at him, and that distracted him. Ivar got up, and he grabbed Gable from behind, basically delivered a burning hammer. I'm not sure if that was his intent, but it was basically tantamount to a burning hammer, and he landed very badly, it looked like, on his neck. And the referee went down to check on him. He said he was okay. And then Ivar went up, he connected on the top rope moonsault, and he put Gable away. I love this match. I thought this was awesome. I very much enjoyed watching these two in the ring go at it. Ivar needed this win because he took the fluke loss to Akira Tozawa. I don't remember if it was I think it was last week, right? It was last week. So he lost to Tozawa. He needed the comeback win. He got the comeback win here. I'll tell you what I'm pissed about. What really pisses me off is that Triple H has done nothing since that last match we got with Gable and Gunther, which was in September. I was hoping that by the time we got to the Royal Rumble, we would be in a position already where Gable had worked his way back up into contention. You've got Adam Copeland on Collision every week doing the Cope Open. He's doing an open challenge. He's wrestling Dante Martin. He's wrestling fucking Minoru Suzuki on Dynamite this week, because he's trying to work his way back up into title contention for Christian Cage. Christian sent him to the back of the line. That's what Gunther did. He told Gable, get to the back of the line. Why is he not on television for the last 3 months trying to work his way back up into contention? They've done nothing with him. And then he goes out there and he has a match like this with Ivar. Now I'm reminded again, why have they done nothing with him since September? What are they waiting for? They've squandered all of this time. Now, unless they're going to the Rumble on Saturday and Gable eliminates Gunther, because that's really all you need. If he's the one who dumped Gunther out of the ring and eliminate him from the Royal Rumble, you're back on track. You're back on the train tracks. And you could begin the build to Gunther and Gable 4 and have Gable be the one to beat him and win the Intercontinental title. I will die on that hill. I think that would be a great story to tell. But it doesn't look like they have any interest in telling it anytime soon. So let's see what happens on Saturday. But there's a much better chance, I think, that Brock Lesnar ends up in the Rumble, and Brock is the one to eliminate Gunther. If the plan is maybe Gunther and Lesnar at WrestleMania, which is a bigger match, I'm not going to lie. Of course, yes, that's a big match. So I don't see another way, though, in the near term, where they can kind of get that feud back on track unless something happens in the Rumble match on Saturday. And I just think it's such a waste. You know? Then it was time for the big face-to-face. This was the best segment on the entire show. Cody Rhodes was out to the ring first in his suit, and then CM Punk made his way down to the ring in his hoodie. Nice little contrast there. One guy in his suit and shoes, the other guy in his sneakers and his hoodie. Once both men were in the ring, we got chants of CM Punk. Then those died out eventually, and we got some chants of Cody. A little bit lighter than the Punk chants, but we did get Cody chants. Punk said, let's take a moment to enjoy this. Both of us have taken very different paths to get here. Saturday night, we're opponents. Sunday morning, he hopes they're still friends, but right now, let's just enjoy this moment. And the crowd in New Orleans, they chanted for both men. Cody asked the fans in New Orleans, or he said specifically CM Punk, what do you want to talk about? Because I know what Punk does not want to talk about, or what he's legally allowed to talk about. Punk actually said he wants to talk about Cody's dad. And I'm sure I could picture the people just rolling their eyes. The people that are always tired of hearing Cody talk about Dusty, because I always see the complaints. Always going to talk about Dusty again, right? And he hasn't recently. So Punk is the one to bring up Dusty. So don't blame Cody for it. He brings up Dusty. Wants to talk about Cody's dad. Said, I don't think I've ever told this story publicly before. I'm not even sure you know this story. Says 2007. Dusty calls Punk on the phone and tells him he's sending his son Cody to Ohio Valley Wrestling to start his journey as a pro wrestler, and he tells Punk that he wants Punk to keep an eye on his kid. And Punk didn't know Cody yet, and he didn't think he'd need a guardian angel, but when the American Dream asks you for a favor, you say yes. Says it wasn't a hard job. Cody didn't fall into the same vices that a lot of their contemporaries have fallen into. And he watched Cody grow from a prelim wrestler to a main event championship caliber superstar that stands before him today. He said he's proud of Cody. He brings this up because on Saturday, he feels like he's breaking a promise. In the Royal Rumble, if the two of them cross paths, he's not going to be looking out for Cody. He's going to be looking for Cody. He'll punch him in the face. He'll throw him out over the top rope. And he is going to main event WrestleMania. So then it was Cody's turn. Cody told him he's not alone in that feeling of someone that, someone talking to him, but thinking, talking to him, but really thinking about themselves. He works with people like Michael Hayes and Bruce Pritchard and Triple H and even Paul Heyman. When they see him, they can't help but see the American Dream Dusty Rhodes. He casts a very large shadow, but he's done a lot to stand on his own and be his own man. Says you talk about OVW. Punk's not lying. He showed up to OVW, no matches under his belt, a complete nepotism hire. And there you were, CM Punk, who had toiled on the independents for years, 10 years. He could have treated him very poorly, but he didn't. And then they became friends, and that's what makes this all so bittersweet. In the Royal Rumble, there are no friends. If only somebody had told Hogan that in '92, perhaps he wouldn't have acted like a bitch. Punk asked him, what about Sunday morning? Because he can separate business from personal, but can Cody? This business is personal to Cody. He's the son of one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, and he said the two of them have traveled very different paths. They don't come, from the same place. Punk says he doesn't have a famous dad. When Cody came to OVW, he didn't see a nepotism hire. He saw the burden of Cody's last name and how hard it would be to come out of that shadow. And he says, congratulations, you have done that with flying colors. But for all of their differences, him in his nice expensive suit, and then Punk says, me and my clothes that I wore to the gym today. Two very different paths, but the same singular goal. He says his father was blue collar, just a regular guy. He was an electrician, which makes it kind of ironic. Punk says, I'm more of the American dream than you are. And the fans said, ooh. Now it's getting good. So then Cody said, all right. Okay, American Dream. Here's what he wants to talk about. Let's talk about the pipe bomb. And Punk, at that point, he threw his microphone out of the ring. And he just stood at attention, ready to listen to what Cody Rhodes was about to say. And Cody said, you sat right up there and you rattled off the formula for a revolution. There are wrestlers that have gotten into this business because of you. Because of that promo, that one promo you cut on that night, on that stage. There are people that are in wrestling right now because of that moment. But then you left. And when you left, you really left. And he says, when you left, you didn't so much pass the torch as you dropped it on the way out. And he picked it up. Everything that Punk spoke about, he literally did. Cody, that is. So where Punk talked, he walked. And what is actually ironic is that makes him more CM Punk than CM Punk. So a nice little retort there. That got a nice reaction, just like Punk's line about him being the real American dream got a nice reaction. But that hit a nerve. And that you could almost see the switch get flipped. Where Punk went from PG Punk, WWE Punk, happy to be here Punk. He flipped the switch and he went into Punk mode. He took his hoodie off. He said, it's getting a little hot in here. He said, you're more CM Punk than I am, huh? Says, then allow me to give you the full road to WrestleMania CM Punk experience. See, you've carried this company on your back for the past 2 years, and they hand you the cover of 2K24. And right before you're about to finish your story, wait, what's that? Off in the distance. He says, here comes a much bigger superstar that hasn't been around in a very long time, coming to take it all away from you. And that superstar is me. And I think he had to clarify because if you think about it, right, him saying that line, most people might hear that and go, oh, he's talking about The Rock, which would also be true. But he clarified, he made it very clear he was not talking about The Rock, he's talking about himself. Cody said, there you are, looking out for me again. You might be right. You talked about all the, about all the American Dream stuff. Well, he was my best friend. And he regularly quoted John Wayne. And the quote that I heard the most is, courage is being scared to death, but saddling up anyways. Punk may be right, but he has only one direction to go, and that's forward. That direction goes through Punk. And as Cody went to go leave, he bumped shoulders with Punk. Punk spun him around, and the two of them came literally nose to nose. And it looked like they were about to explode. It reminded me of Hogan and Warrior in 1990 in the Royal Rumble, when they're dumping guys out left and right. And then in the Royal Rumble match, we got, they went chest to chest in that one, not nose to nose. But again, two big baby faces. At that time, the two biggest in the entire company. And certainly you could argue right now the two biggest baby faces in WWE are these two guys right here. It's Cody Rhodes and CM Punk. I mean, who else would it be? Randy Orton's up there, LA Knight's up there, but I think these two right here would have to be considered, at the moment, the top two baby faces in WWE. Seth Rollins would probably be number 3 behind these two. But both men eventually backed off. As intense as the looks here are that you see in this image, they eventually backed off. And we got a split reaction from the crowd for Punk and Cody. It was kind of 50-50 there. And my question coming out of this segment was, would they actually do it? Would they give us a repeat of the 1994 finish? I just watched that Rumble again the other night. It was actually better than I remember it. The Rumble match. I didn't watch the entire show. But that finish is not the answer. So for anybody wondering, they're going to 1994 us again. Are we going to have both guys win? Are they both going to be eliminated and they're both going to co-win the Royal Rumble? They can't do it. The reason they can't do it is because they already repeated that finish in 2005, even if they didn't intend to. Vince McMahon tore his quad because of it. But it did happen again. And when it happened again in 2005, they restarted the match, which is what they should have done in 94 in storyline. But they didn't. But they did in 2005. So, if they were going to repeat the Royal Rumble finish from 1994 because it's been so many years, let's recycle that one again. Well, you really can't go back to that given what they did in 05. So no, I don't think we're going to get a 94 Rumble finish. And frankly, I think that would suck. I think that would be a terrible idea. Look, as far as who won the promo battle, if I had to give the edge to one over the other, I'd give the edge to Punk. Because Punk overall is just a better promo than Cody. Cody's a great promo, but look, Punk is Punk. Whatever you think about the guy, the thing that carried him above all else when he came back in AEW, and he had some really good matches, but the thing that carried him was whenever he had a live mic in his hand. Right? He's always been a very good promo. So I give him the edge. But honestly, as far as who won this segment here, we did. Because this was the best thing on the entire show. This segment right here made tonight's show worthwhile. If you take the segment with Cody and Punk out of this show, there really wasn't a lot to get excited about. What else was there to really get excited about tonight on this 3-hour show to get you hyped up for the Royal Rumble? Think about it in that context. Something on this show that when it's over makes you excited and hyped to tune in to the Royal Rumble on Saturday. That segment right there. That one segment sold the Royal Rumble on Saturday. Even if people were already going to watch the show anyway because everybody loves the Royal Rumble and there's going to be a lot of big names in that Rumble match. And so I was already looking forward to the show anyway, but that is how you sell a pay-per-view. And it's kind of an antiquated concept, I guess, with WWE because they don't do pay-per-views anymore, really. But I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was exactly what it needed to be. They took the two men who are the two favorites to win the Royal Rumble, and two of the biggest fan favorites, they put them head-to-head in the ring, and they made it very clear what their intentions are on Saturday. They like each other, they respect each other, but they're going to run through each other. Because on Saturday, there are no friends. That's what the Royal Rumble is all about. I want to punch my ticket to WrestleMania. It's very simple. It's really not that hard to promote the Royal Rumble. You get back to basics. That's what they did here in this segment. And so I loved it. I thought it was great. Obviously, the easiest answer here is that Cody wins the Rumble. He repeats. We haven't had a repeat winner in 26 years. Not since Stone Cold Steve Austin did it in well, let's see. He won the Rumble in 97 and 98 and then 01. So actually, he did not repeat back-to-back in 2001. But he was the last person to repeat, I guess, right? That would have been 97 and 98. I mean, technically, Brett won in 97. You want to get really technical about it, right? That's like saying The Rock won the Royal Rumble in 2000. Technically, The Big Show won. But he doesn't get credit for it, though, because he didn't get his hand raised that night, so technically that doesn't count. Even though clearly The Rock's feet did hit the floor. So anyway, I'm hyped for the Royal Rumble on Saturday. This men's Rumble has a lot of star power to it. We don't know if any of the men in the Roman Reigns match are going to be in the Rumble match. I don't think they will. It does depend on the match order on Saturday. Do they close with the men's Rumble? Because I would. Especially if they have a big surprise in the Rumble. If The Rock shows up on Saturday, how does that match not go on last? The only reason that Roman Reigns would go on last, I think, on Saturday would be if there's going to be a title change. Now, he and Kevin Owens closed the Royal Rumble last year, but that was because they shot that huge angle at the end where Sami Zayn put a chair in Roman's back. They don't have anything going with the bloodline like that right now. So unless Roman is losing his title, and he is not losing his title on Saturday, then you got to close with this. You close with the men's Rumble. I mean, you got 4 matches on the show. It's going to be one or the other. I mean, let's be honest. It's not like we have this plethora of options of what closes out the night. It's got to be, Cody and Punk. Whoever's going to be there at the end, winning the Royal Rumble match. We had Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark against Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell. The previous segment obviously ran long because as quickly as this match began, they went right to a commercial break. I felt like they went to commercial even faster than they usually do. Stark knocked Indy out of the ring and made a blind tag. Candice reversed Baszler's Kirifuda clutch into a cradle, but did not realize the tag had been made, and so Zoe hit her with the Z360 and picked up the win. After the match, Zoe and Shayna, they faced off with the champions, Kayden Carter and Katana Chance. And then Shayna and Zoe could see somebody else was coming, and so they backed away, and who was coming were the Kabuki Warriors. It was actually all the members of Damage Control except Bayley. Dakota Kai was out there with them as well. But Asuka and Kairi, they attacked the champions from behind and left them laying. They are going to be wrestling for the women's tag team titles on Friday night. Backstage, Natalya and Tegan Nox were bickering with all the members of Damage Control, including Bayley, until Adam Pearce showed up and he told them, save it for the Rumble. Natty and Tegan walked away, and Pearce said that he was the one who invited them to help promote the Rumble and the tag team title match on Friday, and he did that not for them to come here and cause chaos. So I at least appreciate the fact that he said, okay, Damage Control is here because I invited them to be here. I appreciate that. And Bayley said that when Asuka and Kairi win the tag titles, Pearce is going to be seeing a lot more of them on the show, so get used to it. And they walked away. Pearce then turned around to go leave, and he walked right into Veer and Sangha. And Jinder Mahal showed up and took credit for injuring Seth Rollins. And Mahal said that he wanted to talk to Pierce about what his plans were for him. Oh, God. Pierce said that he would meet them in his office, and after they walked off, he said he needed a drink. Get the man a drink. Preferably a stiff one. More alcohol than not. What are you in the mood for? Main event was Drew McIntyre one-on-one with Damian Priest. Cole played up the possibility of Priest winning the Rumble to earn a title match at WrestleMania while at the same time holding the Money in the Bank briefcase, but that would be super fucking redundant, so let's hope that doesn't happen. McIntyre hit an early overhead belly-to-belly on the floor outside, and then both men got back into the ring. McIntyre, though, closed him right back out to the floor, and so he followed him out. Drew ended up getting shoved into the ring post, and then Priest gave him a broken arrow onto the announce desk, which did not break. Late in the match, McIntyre counted down. He tried for the Claymore, but Priest avoided it. Priest caught McIntyre with a kick and then followed up with a broken arrow for a near fall. McIntyre rolled to the floor, and Damian Priest, he ran the ropes. He hit a step-up dive from the middle rope out onto McIntyre on the floor. He rolled Drew back in the ring. And I could see the people in the background are standing up like somebody's about to come out. And I'm like, well, who the hell would be coming out now, to attack this guy? But they weren't out there to attack him. It was R-Truth. R-Truth comes back out through the crowd in the middle of this match to try to give Damian Priest the money. I've never seen somebody turn down all this money before. He doesn't want it. He's like, look, dude, I'm in the middle of this match here. And so he shoved Truth to the ground. He got back in the ring. McIntyre caught Priest with a kick, and then he put him down with a Future Shock DDT. He put Priest down with a Future Shock DDT. Truth wanted to put the money in Priest's Money in the Bank briefcase, and he's asking him for the password. What is the password to get into the briefcase? Well, as this is all going on, this is distracting Drew McIntyre, and McIntyre ends up decking R-Truth, and now the money goes flying. And there's cash everywhere. There's cash all over the ring. McIntyre charges in for the Claymore kick. Priest ends up grabbing him by the throat. He hits a South of Heaven chokeslam. And Priest covers McIntyre. The referee, though, was trying to clear Truth from the ring. And Priest grabbed Truth. He tossed him out of the ring, and that allowed Drew to hit the Claymore kick to win the match. This is a weird match to begin with, because I said this earlier. You have two heels. You want to call McIntyre a tweener, fine. You can call him whatever you want. But the guy is on television acting like a heel. He's not coming out and getting cheers from the audience. People don't go out there now and want to cheer for Drew McIntyre. They don't want to cheer for Damian Priest. So there wasn't a lot of heat because it was basically heel against heel. And in their effort to protect Damian Priest from taking a clean loss on this show, they did the angle that they did with R-Truth. And I don't know what the hell they were thinking. That would be the finish of your main event here on this show, here on this go-home episode of Raw. I like Truth. I think he's very entertaining. Keep that shit out of the main event. Don't know what that finish was. And then they just very abruptly, like 20 seconds later, boom, they were off the air. And that's how Raw ended tonight. So the New Day Imperium stuff, great stuff. Cody and Punk stole the show. Sold the Royal Rumble in one segment. Ivar and Chad Gable, that was the sleeper match of the show. If you didn't see it, watch it. It's a very good match. Main event was good too, up until that finish, whatever the fuck that was. So if you want to know what you should watch here on this 3-hour show that you may have missed, if there is anything to go back and watch, the main thing is Cody Rhodes and CM Punk. So a mixed bag here for a go-home show, but that one segment alone was strong enough to really carry the night, and it was just excellent stuff. Now, next week on Raw, they've already announced Finn Balor and Damian Priest are going to defend their undisputed tag team titles against Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa. It's hard to see them doing a title change on Monday, because to me, if the goal is to get to Balor and Priest in a singles match at WrestleMania, then yes, I could see it. But I also don't know that they want to get to it that quickly. And so if you hold off on that and you just build to an eventual rematch, you could do Priest and Balor defending the tag team titles of WrestleMania against DIY, and they win the belt at WrestleMania. And then you can have the collapse of the Judgment Day, or at least of Damian Priest in the Judgment Day. I kind of like that idea better. I mean, me personally, I just would love to see them delay the moment until WrestleMania. But we'll see. A lot of it really hinges on what the plans are for Priest at Mania. If they want to go one-on-one with him and Balor, then I could absolutely see the belts changing hands next week. We also have Gunther defending the Intercontinental title against Kofi Kingston, and we have Jey Uso going one-on-one with Big Bronson Reed. He's big. You know how I know that? Because he tells me on the show. Hey, Retro KOH, thank you for the 5 gifted memberships that are coming in as we speak. We got 5 new members. Look at that, just like that. Hey, Tanya. Tanya's a new member now. Here's the Twitter poll. 82% thumbs up for CM Punk and Cody Rhodes on the stick. Because I guarantee you that's where the majority of that 82% comes from. 17.7% thumbs down. So you can vote at Solomonster on Twitter. You can find me on, I hate saying X. Every time I say find me on X, it sounds like I'm on drugs. Find me on Twitter, where I assure you I am not on drugs. At least not yet. The week is young, though. You know, I haven't flown down to Florida yet. They have all kinds of drugs down there in Florida. I mean, they have, I hear they have snow in Miami in the winter. It's a different kind of snow. I hear they have snow in Jacksonville, too. That's also a very different kind of snow. All right, here we go. Super Chat time. Let's get to your messages and see what you guys are talking about. If you have any questions, if you have any predictions. Predictions for the Royal Rumble. I'm going to be doing mine later in the week. Get them on in. Who do you think? Who do you got to win the Royal Rumble? Let me know. Jacqueline Fowler with the $6 says Okada as a mystery opponent for Cena at WrestleMania 40, like Cody and Seth at Mania 38 if he goes to WWE. Unlike other matchups, there's one chance to do Cena and Okada. Yeah, I mean, there probably aren't going to be very many chances to do Cena and Okada. I don't see it happening at WrestleMania this year. I'm not even sure Cena is going to be on the show this year. But if they have the opportunity to do it, I don't know how many more times they're going to be able to. Lakers Pats. AEW New Japan partnership does not last much longer. Is that your prediction? No, I think President Tanahashi is going to want to preserve that relationship. Brother Fluff Salisbury, I may be seeing you at the bar before the Rumble starts on Saturday, depending on what time I get out of work that day. Well, I'm probably going to be hanging out at Ferg's, which is a sports bar across the street from Tropicana Field a few hours before, so maybe we will. Maybe we'll bump into each other. Donnie Yasu, Adrenaline. Should I sing it? I won't sing it. Adrenaline in my soul, something, something, Cody Rhodes. Thank you, Donnie. The Winston Slit, one cameo from any living pro wrestler in 2024 Royal Rumble. Okada, man. I know it's not going to happen, but imagine the coin drop during the Royal Rumble. Out comes Okada. I'd love to see it. Jessica Herman, while the Royal Rumble finish is predictable, it's the path of getting there on Saturday that is exciting, including the side stories from it. I wouldn't even say the finish is predictable. Even if you think, okay, it's either Punk or Cody, right? You don't know for sure. Because Cody doesn't have to win. And then they'll have to figure out another way through maybe the chamber. Cody winning, though, would be the easiest way to go. because it's going to be Cody and Roman, most likely. And instead of dancing around it, you have him win the Rumble and then he can call a shot. I mean, that would be the easiest way to go about it, but just because it's easy does not mean that they're going to do it. They do have one more pay-per-view. Maybe they haven't given him enough adversity yet. DEH says Kevin Patrick is gone. Again, I opened the stream tonight with that story. Let me just check and see if there's been anything else written or mentioned about it, because I have not. No, I'm not seeing anything. So again, for the people who are joining late, there is a story up on bodyslam.net right now that quotes a quote notable author on Twitter who posted a tweet at 10 o'clock tonight that Kevin Patrick is gone from SmackDown. The decision's already been made. I am not seeing this reported by anyone that I would consider reputable. So take it with a grain of salt. It is not confirmed. But in all honesty, if he's not gone, it's an evergreen tweet. Because he will be at some point in the not too distant future. We're being honest. It's evergreen. If it's not now, you can hold on to it. It'll be valid within the next 6 months. But that is not yet confirmed. Daniel Malcolm, way too much Terry Bollea tonight. I'm surprised they restrained themselves and didn't actually have him on the show. The Dada and Boys podcast, Dynamite could use a commentary shakeup. I don't really have an issue with Dynamite commentary. The rare times that I would see an episode of Dark, it was Excalibur and Taz, they were actually very entertaining together. They were allowed to be more entertaining than they sometimes are on Dynamite. It's just the difference between being on TV live and being on a tape YouTube show. So I don't have an issue with it. Grant Hudson with the $9.99. Well, considering he can't go over the top rope, it appears that Hulk Hogan will be finishing his story on Saturday, not Cody or the Punker brother. Tell you, if Hogan's in the Rumble, he wins. Because he can't go out over the top rope. You would have to drive a forklift to the ring with like a pallet and have somebody very gently pick up Hogan and lay him on the pallet and have the forklift go in reverse and then lower slowly to the ground so Hogan could roll off and then be eliminated. Otherwise, he ain't going to be in the Royal Rumble. Base Beerus, buy or sell Drowning Pool or Saliva? I was always a fan of drowning in saliva. You put the two together. Drowning Pool or Saliva? I'll go Drowning Pool. William Sanchez with the 1999. If Rollins does make it to Mania, he's definitely losing the title. He should be out for the rest of the year and return to win the Rumble next year and go from there, whether a rematch with Punk or whoever. I would not be booking the 2025 Royal Rumble this far out. Seth Rollins winning the Royal Rumble next year. Doesn't really do it for me. Paul Carpenter. I wonder if the Creed brothers got real heat when they hurt Damian Priest a couple of weeks ago. They seemed like they got pushed back. It does, you know what? That's a good point. It does feel that way. It almost feels like they've just been completely de-emphasized. I'm not sure if that is product of heat or if that's just a product of we're going into the Royal Rumble and so the focus needs to be on that and not the two rookies. But I would say that as we go into February, if that continues and they're not really being focused on, I think you may be onto something. Because it was very clear at the end of that tag match, however many weeks ago, Priest was pissed. You know, when Brutus landed on his face on that Brutus ball, he was not happy. Michael with the brand new $3 super chat Solo, with the chamber coming up, can I say that the way to pronounce Aussie is Aussie? Less pronounced the S's, please. So I have been corrected. It is not Aussie. It is Aussie. Like Ozzy Osbourne. All right, Michael. Thank you for correcting me. Grant Johnson. Do you have Gable eliminate Gunther in the Royal Rumble to spark a WrestleMania feud reignition? I do. But they may have bigger plans for him. I would do it, though. Base Beerus, new chats. Getting a late night workout in. If you can pronounce the names of the New Japan guys, you can pronounce the anime names. I think I'm doing a better job with the anime names, actually. Chris AXC, how do you think the Bray Uncle Howdy angle was going to play out had we not lost Bray? Also, didn't that Cody Punk segment feel a little bit flat? Damn those NDAs. No, it didn't feel flat to me. Because again, you're dealing with two people. There's no personal issue there. If there was a personal issue, then there would be a different kind of intensity in a segment like that. So as we get closer to WrestleMania, we get Punk and Rollins, I expect that to be, the volume on that is going to be turned way up. In a segment like that, where you've established that Seth Rollins in this story, he hates CM Punk, right? Maybe even in real life, he really doesn't like the guy, right? It's not just the work. In a segment like that, you would get sparks. The sparks would fly. This was a little more subdued, but I thought what they did was perfect, and it fit the theme of the Royal Rumble, right? They're not going in there and saying, I hate your fucking guts. You've been talking shit about me for all these years. You did this to me, right? You pushed my mother down a flight of stairs or something like that. You stole my girlfriend. Nothing like that. This was strictly about the Royal Rumble. This was the very definition tonight of a promo where it's not personal, it's just business. When we get closer to WrestleMania and we get Punk and Rollins, it's going to be different. That's going to be a very different type of segment, and you'll see the sparks fly. So I didn't think it was flat. I loved it. I thought it was exactly what it needed to be. As far as Bray and Uncle Howdy and that whole story, I don't know. I mean, there are some people who think Alexa Bliss would have factored into it. There would have been a whole Wyatt Six faction. I don't know. I mean, the Bray stuff was always just impossible to predict because it was just so weird. I think that he and Howdy would have been... Like, would they have revealed that Howdy was Bo Dallas at some point? Yeah, I think they would have. Further down the road, I don't know if they would have done some tag team matches together. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I mean, it's like being in the mind of a madman, and I say that in a good way. It's just like he was almost too creative for his own good sometimes. There were just so many weird things about some of those segments and the vignettes, the puppets and everything else. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe some tag team stuff with them, possibly. I could have seen that. Mark, what's up, Solomonster? What are your thoughts on Punk and Rhodes eliminating each other in 94 Rumble fashion and going on their separate title journeys? I don't like it. I hated the finish in 94, and I would hate them if they did it again. And for all the reasons I already talked about, it doesn't work because they already did it again in 05. And so why would they do it again in this year and not restart the match until we have a winner? It doesn't make any sense. Manuel Macias, if Rock actually wrestles Roman, how would you give Cody his moment? Can't have him be on the game cover and not win the WWE title this year. The game cover only just really solidifies it for me. I mean, I've been saying stay the course. Do not get distracted by all this other stuff. Do not change course and push it back to next year or whatever. There's a story there. You complete the story that you started a year ago at WrestleMania. The way that Cody has been putting out these messages, like on Instagram, he posted a picture of the Rocky Balboa statue from WrestleMania 40. Like, he's not shying away for making it very clear that, I'm staying the course, I'm staying focused and I'm not flinching and I'm going to the main event of WrestleMania 40. If he knew that he wasn't going to the main event of WrestleMania 40, I don't think he would be saying all these things. And I think that in the end, it'll be him and Roman. I still think the plan is Cody and Roman at WrestleMania. I really do. So I think that's how it's going to play out. We might get Rock and Roman in some other capacity or on a different night or at a different show. There's actually somebody who wrote into the podcast yesterday. And I actually thought it was a very smart idea. In the Endeavor era now, we're in the post-Vince McMahon. I know he's still there, but he's not really running things the way he used to. Now it's Endeavor that owns WWE. And so would they be averse to doing a pay-per-view event? Like a special mega event where they jointly produce a show with The Rock's production company, $7 Productions. And they do an entire event devoted or built entirely around a Rock and Roman main event. Maybe even billing it as Rock's final match to decide who the real tribal chief is, who is the head of the table. And you build this entire event around that one big main event, and you build out the card, and it's almost like WrestleMania-esque, but it's not WrestleMania. It's a totally new, standalone, one-time only mega event. Why not? That match is big enough where you could do something like that. Instead of having one WrestleMania, it's like you're having two. So, there's an idea to consider. Rock's talking about doing something unprecedented that's never been done before. WWE has never done anything like that on that level before. Co-promoting a major pay-per-view like that with Rock and Roman as the featured attraction? Sure, why not? Why does it have to be at WrestleMania? Chris Manson. Actually, Manuel has another one. What stars has Triple H booked the best and the worst? I think Karrion Kross continues to just be absolutely a drag on whatever show he's on because he's just not being used in any meaningful way. Now he's part of a faction. We'll see how that goes, right? They have AOP is back with Paul Ellering. Maybe he'll have better luck being a part of a faction and running his own faction, but it's not as if he's been doing better off under Triple H than he was with Vince McMahon around. So he's got to be in what I would call the worst column. And then you look at a guy like LA Knight. LA Knight would be fired were it not for Triple H giving him his name back. He would have already been gone. He would have been released. When they had those mass wave of releases in September, Max Dupree, if he wasn't already gone, he would have been on the cut list. I guarantee it. Guarantee it. Triple H gave him his name back. He gave him his career back, is what he did. How can you say that LA Knight is, worse off than he was before when he was doing the Max Dupree gimmick? When you ask him about it in interviews, it's almost like he's going to physically retch. Like he doesn't even want to talk about it. It was so bad. So he knows he was on a path to nowhere. He's in a much better position now. Chris Manson. I know stories is the important part, but on paper, what are the 3 matches AEW can do to sell out a stadium show in the States? 3 matches that they can do? Yeah, they could do, if it's just purely from a match perspective, anything with Will Ospreay is going to be the best match on the entire show. You do Will Ospreay against Bryan Danielson for the first time ever. Or you do Will Ospreay against Kenny Omega for the first time in an AEW ring. Right? There you go. Huge match. As far as women's, if they get Mercedes, if they actually sign Mercedes Moné, you do Mercedes in there against a Toni Storm, Mercedes against a Jamie Hayter. Britt Baker has always been positioned as the top star, right, from when the company started. You could do Mercedes and Britt. I think for marquee value, that would have a lot of appeal. And then tag team wise, they still have a number of great tag teams. You put FTR in there. FTR and the Bucks has been done, I think, enough times already. I don't know. I don't know what that tag match would be. That would be the major kind of ticket buying attraction, but those are some of the matches I think that would do very well for them. Mark, P.S. Shit finish, but Truth gives Judgment Day a spark similar to what early Sami Zayn gave the Bloodline. I predict he'll play a role in their breakup. Yeah, I think he will too. He may end up playing a role in the cash-in when it eventually happens. But the way they did that finish tonight on the show, that was not the way. Paul Carpenter, can Priest cash in the Rumble match? If not, can he cash in the Rumble match? What does that mean? I don't know what you're trying to say. B Money, so will Solo the Monster finally finish his story in 2K24, or will it be left incomplete like it was in 2K23? I think Solo the Monster. Oh yeah, Jazz. I mean, my God, I forgot Ospreay and Omega had their match at Forbidden Door. That's right. I guess I just really want to see it one more time. Because I thought we were going to get part 3 at Wembley, and we didn't. So, in my mind, I would love to see it again. But you're right. I completely blanked on the Forbidden Door match. But yes, Solo the Monster will once again try his hand in 2K24. I make no promises to you that I will finish my journey, because I get very pissed off very easily when I play these games, and which I think people enjoy. Me, not so much when I'm in the middle of playing it. We'll try to finish our story in 2K24. Rumpelmane, oh boy. Rumpelmane says, Michael Cole became my favorite commentator tonight. I'll bet he did. I can only imagine what two of you have bookmarked in your web browser. You know what? I don't want to know. The Mount Burning Kid, Christopher Bennett, thank you for the $5, says, Happy New Year, Solo. Been a while. Am I the only one that feels they foreshadowed the Final Four in the Women's Royal Rumble? Becky, Nia, Bianca, and Bayley. I could see that. Yeah, that sounds about right. I think that would make sense. Barry MK, hey, I think I'm addicted to soap, but I am trying to get clean. Tyler, are you planning on going to WrestleMania? No, I will be here for WrestleMania. I will be in Philadelphia the day before WrestleMania, but I will not be at WrestleMania. John 10, I think 4-way main event and Rock comes after. Well, that would certainly be one way to close the show with Roman's match without him losing the title if Rock comes out and they have a face-to-face. I could see that. In fact, I'll tell you right now, if the show does not close with the men's rumble and the show closes with the 4-way, Rock is going to come out. It's the only thing that makes sense. Otherwise, I just don't see the point in headlining with Roman's match just for Roman to win again and then nothing happens. That this doesn't make sense. Base beer is Dustin Rhodes or Jake the Snake? Just, it's such a vague question. I mean, match-wise in the ring, Dustin is the better wrestler than Jake. Objectively, Dustin Rhodes is a better in-ring performer than Jake Roberts. But there's just something about Jake and his promos and even some of his matches and the way he built up that DDT that I will always be a fan of. So on a personal level, I go with Jake the Snake. That's my personal pick. Also, do you see Penta becoming a main eventer in AEW? He's great. Penta is great, but no, he will not be a main eventer in AEW. He might get a main event here and there, but he is not going to be a main eventer in AEW. Skywalker, which Vince McMahon decision hurt the most? Not allowing Randy Savage's return to WWE for his Hall of Fame speech, or not allowing Kurt Angle to finish his career match with John Cena at WrestleMania. The Savage thing will always be a black mark that just pisses me off no matter what. So, Savage being blackballed from the company as long as he was, and passing away before he was inducted and had the ability to give his own speech, because it would have been a very entertaining speech. And the fact that they waited so long because of just petty bullshit, and eventually he went in, but he was already dead, and we've seen this play out before. It pisses me off. It just makes me very angry. More angry than what they did to Kurt. What they did to Kurt was bullshit too, but the Savage thing was worse. Ali. WWE is great right now, but nothing makes a badass heel like McIntyre less cool than a giant flying cheesy CGI sword. I hate the CGI. Yeah, I don't like it either. I wish they would get rid of it. Jazz Jackrabbit, Miami snow is enough to send you over the top rope. Is it? I wouldn't know. Boney, if they aren't gonna let Damian cash in, he should defend it on an old school WrestleMania or in an old school WrestleMania multi-man ladder match to help get more people on the card. And why would he do that? Why would he agree to defend his Money in the Bank briefcase that he won fair and square in a multi-man ladder match at WrestleMania? Will Chisholm, that New Japan bump Gable took tonight was Triple H saying Okada and Julia, you can work strong style. Maybe they don't want to work strong style. Did it ever occur to you that maybe Julia and Okada might come to WWE because they don't want to work strong style anymore? Okada's been working strong style for over a decade. See, Nakamura had the right idea. He didn't want to work strong style anymore, so he came to WWE. And he gets to surf, and he gets paid well. It's not a bad gig. Jazz, thank you for the $3. Diesel Cool Undertaker, Shawn Michaels Heartbreaker, Bret Hart, show him how. Uh-oh, here comes... See, you fucked it up, Jazz. I have to correct your super chat now. It's Diesel Cool Undertaker, Shawn Michaels Heartbreaker. And then, now you confuse me, but it's like, show him how, uh-oh, here comes Vader now. And then something about Ahmed Johnson and Hunter Helmsley's Blood is Blue. Now you got me all flustered. That's the old, who sang that, by the way? It sounded like Hank Williams Jr. They got that one intro for Superstars back in 95. It was like a Hank Williams Jr.-esque theme for the show. But Jazz, you botched it, man. You botched it. Mikey Clayman, Cody's last promo in AEW was a prequel to tonight. Cody's last promo in AEW was kind of wild. And Nightmare Knee, Cody versus Punk, bigger than Seth versus Punk. I think that you could argue that, but I think the stronger backstory is definitely Seth and Punk. I think Seth and Punk has the stronger story. And so that's, if you had a choice between the two, I think you go with Seth and Punk. Arabian Knight has a message coming in. He wants to know if I feel Santino should be in the Hall of Fame. He is comedy gold. Santino will be in the Hall of Fame one day, and R-Truth will be in the Hall of Fame one day as well. Remember, the name of the company is World Wrestling Entertainment. And so even though the word wrestling is in there, the word entertainment is obviously a very big part of what they do. And R-Truth has been entertaining for such a long period of time. It's actually amazing when you look at him. You don't realize this guy is, almost in his mid-50s. He looks the same. But he's been entertaining us for a very long time. And Santino did as well. I still crack up whenever I come across the video of the Tea Time with Santino segment with him and Sheamus and Kozlov, as he's talking about Sheamus's pale pigmentation, and you could tell Sheamus is like, he's going like this with his chin because he's trying to stop himself from just cracking up laughing. Like, it's so obvious. You could tell. Anyway. B Money has a $4.99 coming in. Thank you, B Money. Says, will you be watching the Chris Van Vliet interview with the Velveteen Dream tomorrow or when you have the time? Chris always does great interviews. I'm sure that I will check out at least parts of it after it drops. I don't know that I'm going to watch the entire thing, but I have a feeling that interview will likely make news. So depending on what is said during the interview, I may have to cover it, but we'll see. I'll definitely check out parts of it after it drops. Cameron Spencer. Thank you, sir, for the $4.99. Very much appreciated. Says, I'm frustrated with Omos's booking. He should have been world champion a year and a half ago. What is taking so long? I hope he wins the Rumble. You know, when I said get that man a drink earlier, I was talking about Adam Pearce. I wasn't talking about you, Cameron. How many of those strawberry daiquiris have you had tonight? I'm a little worried about you. The Mount Vernon Kid has been a channel member for 20 months. How about that? Thank you very much, Chris. All right, so the goal tonight for Be the Booker has been smashed. The goal was 400. We are currently standing at 561. So we have a new goal. The new goal is 600. Let's see 600. We'll do Be the Booker anyway, but let's see if we can get to 600.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to Be the Booker.
Hey, Grant has a $9.99 drop coming in. Thank you, Grant. Grant says, speaking of Jake, I will forever be kind of sad that he wasn't in the shape. It's going too fast. That he wasn't in the shape to be the higher power in 99. Plus, they could have mentioned the fact that Undertaker beat him and sent him packing at WrestleMania 8. Yeah, Jake in 99 wasn't really in shape to do anything. He was battling his demons. So it was not, nor was it ever going to be him anyway. That was the fans just kind of running roughshod. They thought it was going to be Jake. They thought it was going to be the $1 Million Man. Supposedly, the story at one point is that, believe it or not, the higher power is going to be portrayed by Christopher Daniels. But in the end, we got Vince McMahon. All right, here we go. Tag Team Be the Booker. We'll kick things off with the Kings of Wrestling. Chris Hero and Claudio Castagnoli, former Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions, a fine team. I watched them perform many times at the Hammerstein Ballroom for Ring of Honor back in the day. I always had a lot of fun at those shows. Sometimes downstairs at the Hammerstein, sometimes upstairs in the Grand Ballroom. It's going to be the Kings of Wrestling against Owen Hart and Yokozuna. The only thing is, by the time we got Owen and Yoko as a team, his weight was just starting to balloon out of control. That's why they put Owen with him. That's why they became a tag team, because they just didn't trust him in singles matches anymore. His weight was getting out of control. But if you had Owen Hart in the ring with Claudio, if you had Owen Hart in the ring with Chris Hero, how fucking great would that be? Yoko comes in, drops a leg, does a couple of spots. I don't think Claudio at that point would have been strong enough to try to pick him up and slam him. But I wonder, like current Claudio, like current day Claudio Castagnoli, would he be able to pick up Yoko, not when he was at his heaviest, but let's say when he was the size he was, let's say in like Not even on the Intrepid, but when he was a little bit closer to 600. Do you think Claudio would have been able to pick him up? Maybe. He's strong as an ox. I mean, he's deceptively strong. So I wouldn't bet against him. All right, let's do women's Be the Booker. 1 for 1 so far. And we begin with the lovely Mariah May. I am a Mariah May mark. Love me some Mariah May. Yes, this is a great way to kick off Be the Booker. It will be Mariah May against Ty Mello. Ty Mello and Mariah May. Now, she just had a child, so Ty is not wrestling at the moment, but I'm going to give that the bell for the Mariah May inclusion. I think that edges it over to a bell for me. You say no, I say yes. We still have not seen the best of Mariah May in AEW. She's only had one match. You give it time. You'll see what that woman can do. All right, men's Be the Booker. We need a main event. We need a main event. We need a good main event. And we're going to have Abyss as one half of our main event. The Monster Abyss. One of the TNA originals. All right, it's going to be Abyss, and who's it going to be? We're going to push the magic button and find out. Abyss, Abyss and Kane. It's like looking in the mirror. Two masked men, two big masked men. Kane is bigger, but Abyss was a pretty big SOB himself. Abyss and Kane, like that would have been a match that they absolutely, we would have had a whole program with those two. Had Abyss come over when they tried to bring him over in 06. He was this close from debuting at WrestleMania against The Undertaker. And he got cold feet. Stage fright. Decided he wanted to stay and continue to build TNA, and so we never got it. There you go. Abyss and Kane. There's your attraction. We go 3 for 3 in Be the Booker. Not sure if you would say that Abyss in that mask is more of a Kane knockoff, or I always thought that it was more of a Mankind knockoff, not so much Kane. But I guess I could see Kane. Arabian Night, who do you think was the biggest missed opportunity for WWE in the last 5 to 10 years that was barely given a shot? Always go back to EC3. He checked all the boxes. EC3 is one. I think that Hit Row with Swerve, mainly Swerve, like they had Swerve Strickland, who had already had success in NXT. It's not like, oh, he only blossomed when he was in AEW. No, he did very well for himself in NXT. He was a North American champion. He never had a shot. He never had a fucking prayer on the main roster. So I put my money on Swerve. At least EC3, I know they didn't do much with him, but they did a few things before they cut him loose. They did nothing with Swerve. Like, when I say he didn't have a shot, he didn't have a shot. They didn't give him nothing. You could do Joseph Park Esquire against Corporate Kane. Now, fuck Corporate Kane. Joseph Park Esquire is where it's at. I was a Park mark. Always loved it when he was backstage with Sting. I still remember the backstage segment. And he would go over to Sting and go, "Look, well, I'm not trying to K-fab you." Like, he was so goofy, but I enjoyed that gimmick. I know some people hated it. I enjoyed it. Kind of nuts that WWE did not have a real face of the company, not counting Roman, from 2014 to 2019. You just answered your own question. I mean, you may not have liked the guy. A lot of people didn't like the guy, but it was Roman Reigns. You know, they foisted him upon all of us, and they made him the de facto face of the company. Unfortunately for him, they made him the face of failure. I used to call Abyss Kane kind. Kane kind? I've never heard that before. How about Man Kane? I like Man Kane better. It was Roman and Brock. I guess you could say Brock was also the face, the very purple face of the company. I went back. I watched the 2020. I've been watching some older Royal Rumbles and some of the newer ones. And so last night I watched the 2020 Royal Rumble. And it's amazing to me because Brock started it. He was the champion, and he was in there for a while. And it didn't take very long. He wasn't doing much. And it's amazing in his matches how quickly Brock turns purple. Like his face turns a very noticeable shade of purple. It's actually, you see like in the outline, or not the outline, the layout here, you see the purple robe that Seth Rollins is wearing. I don't know if that would be more fuchsia, but it's like, that's what Brock's face looks like. Very, very scary. Winston Slit finally got his red skull. I've achieved my lifelong dream. What do I do now? I always forget. Is the red skull the top skull, or is the gold skull the top one? I think it's the red, right? Well, if it's the red, you've reached the top of the mountain. Now you got to defend your skull. It's like anybody who wins a title, right? What do you do when you become champion? You got to defend your title. It's no different. Yeah, I mean, look, the 2020 Rumble, some people hate it. I loved it. I loved the, the idea of having Brock in there as the champion. Yeah, the title wasn't on the line, but it was different. And every time somebody would come out, like when Shelton Benjamin came out, Brock got all happy, right? Because they used to be roommates in Minnesota. And then Keith Lee comes out, and the look on his face, oh, big boy, you know? And it was, you know what? Watching that was really sad because I saw Keith Lee come out, and that was probably Keith Lee in his, like, in the physical prime of his career that I've seen. And he comes in there and he's taking it to Brock, and he's got this entire stadium full of people going nuts. And that was after he shared that fist bump at the Survivor Series with Roman Reigns. And you really felt like, okay, this is going to be a big player in this company in the years to come. And to see what's happened to him, and the Bearcat stuff, and then he got sick. And even now, dealing with injuries in AEW, he's having double surgery, I think, on his knees, and he's going to be gone for a while. The guy can't catch a break. And I feel like he may have missed his window. I don't know that physically. I don't know that he'll ever be able to get back to where he was at that point. But in that moment, there was so much promise there for him. And it's like, what a waste, It's just what a waste. Yeah, I watched, I mentioned 94. The 94 Rumble was better than I remember it. And the finish was actually, even if you didn't like the finish, the way they executed the finish was pitch perfect. The way that Brett and Luger went out over the top rope, I mean, so many things could have gone wrong. You're falling over backwards that way, and you really have very little control over your body and where your feet are going to land. And I know they didn't have like a great camera shot that was done on purpose. But I bet you if they had a dead-on camera angle of their feet hitting the floor, they would have hit at the exact same time. Like, you could not have timed that any better. If you're going to do a double finish like that, a double elimination, and have both feet touch the floor, it doesn't get any more perfect than the way they pulled that off. Some people forget that he beat Randy Orton clean. Yeah, that was on a September pay-per-view, right? Well, it didn't mean anything, right? The key is always in the follow-up. And I don't remember the timeline. It's possible they were going to push him and he got sick. I don't remember, but, you know, they put him in a singlet. They called him Bearcat. It's like, what are you doing? You know, like, what are you doing with this guy? But he almost died, you know. He went through the whole COVID ordeal. He almost died. I mean, it was scary. It was very scary. It's just one bad luck thing after another for the guy. Any chance we see outside stars in the Rumble? I mean, there's always a chance. The fact they've done it before, I'm not expecting it. I am expecting Trinity to be in the Women's Rumble, but she is technically free and clear. She's no longer under contract to TNA. I'd be surprised if we don't see her in the Rumble. I'm still thinking there's a very decent chance we'll see Mercedes in the Women's Rumble. But Trinity is one I would be very surprised if she wasn't in there, just like Andrade with the men's. Bliss fan says that I see the mystery woman. I don't know what you mean. Did I see the mystery woman at my door? Like, what? Looking through my window? Like, what are you talking about? The mystery woman. I'm just looking to see if there's anything else on this Kevin Patrick thing to verify this alleged story. And so far, I am not seeing anything. So we will wait and see on the Kevin Patrick stuff if that pans out, if that ends up being true. That he is no longer the lead announcer on SmackDown. Again, there's only one source for it, and it's someone that I'm not familiar with, so I will look into this further. But I'm going to be back with you live on Wednesday. That's going to be after the AEW Dynamite show. So you know, I'm flying out on Thursday. I am not planning on doing a SmackDown stream. I'm probably going to be doing other things. I might not even be watching SmackDown. So there will be no SmackDown stream on Friday night. I will be at the Rumble. So I don't know exactly when I will be live. I'm hoping I will be live later that night. So if the Rumble ends at 11, I could probably be live by midnight or earlier. If the Rumble ends at midnight and I want to give it a shot, we might have a late night. So I will be live at some point, either Saturday night, very late, or maybe on Sunday afternoon. I will let you guys know, but there will be a Rumble recap at some point this weekend. And then we're back to normal next week. I fly back on Monday morning, so it shouldn't affect the Raw stream next week. And we'll see what's going on. We'll see what's going on in Florida. It should be a fun weekend. I'm looking forward to it. We'll see what else we end up doing while we're down there. Maybe I'll go exploring. I haven't been down to Florida in many years. No. I'm not planning on doing a sound off on Sunday. Episode 845 is going to be the Royal Rumble review. That will be the sound off. That will be episode 845. If that changes, again, follow me on Twitter. That's where I'm most active. I promise I will let you guys know. But make sure that you check out episode 844, because we had a hell of a podcast go up yesterday. Covered a lot of stuff on there, including Rollins and Okada. I even did a TNA Impact recap. First time in many years I've done that. Talked a little Girls Gone Wild. Yes, Girls Gone Wild. Did you know that Tori Wilson and Stacy Keibler were on a Girls Gone Wild pay-per-view, and Stacy Keibler did a shot off of Tori's chest? It's true. It's true. It actually happened. I've got the full backstory on it. Check out episode 844. All right, until Wednesday, be well, stay safe, and I will see you then. We will talk AEW Dynamite. Thank you for all the love and support. Hit that like button on the way out. I'll see you Wednesday night.